Thank you, Tom. Putin's better at this than Al Capone was. I mean, in organized crime, he's unbelievable, right? They're going to have supposed elections over 3 days. Putin. I mean, J Dog. Anyone who runs against him is either poisoned, dead, or in prison, right? I mean, who are the? I know, I know. Well, you know what, J Dog? People don't even know his background. I mean, you might be aware. KGB originally, and then when he was out of power for a little while, he basically took over the country's energy sector. Basically, he hijacked the energies, became a multi-billionaire, and then he felt like, "I wanna be president." Yeah. Well, that's what's scary about it, and you know what? He's not the first, Russian leader that we've seen do it, but I'll tell you right now, if you oppose him, again, amazing, you wind up in a prison, beaten to death, dead, poisoned, you name it. Alright, hey, we're gonna have more this morning on that TikTok vote, reaction already from China. I can't believe we're talking about a social media platform, but our intelligence folks are quite concerned about it, so we're going to come back on that. Some interesting court cases as it pertains to now the Republic. I guess you still say the presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump. We're also going to have some border discussions. Representative Chris Pappas on deck in a moment, but first, our own White House correspondent John Decker. Some interesting court stuff going on all around more than one state, John, including Florida, Georgia, regarding Donald Trump. And it just seems to me, John, that we're going to see more of this probably than not. And depending on that Florida case, some of these could be delayed till after the general election, which I'm sure the Trump team would like, but we'll see where it goes. Yep. All right, John Decker, on White House correspondent. Thank you, John. John, they're not coming for you. They're not coming for you, John. Little siren in the background. Hey, in case you haven't noticed, at a state level, at a national level, including last Thursday night State of the Union address, border security rising to a top issue. And some would say that what we're going to see this fall, locally and nationally, more discussion on the economy, household budgets, and also abortion rights will be a big issue. You saw that in terms of President Biden's talking about health care when he came here. But State Senator Donna Susie, who was on with me the other day, and Senator Shaheen last week, both talk about some of this. But immigration and border security, many will say, is a top voting issue. And I want to get back on. It's been a little bit. Representative of Congressman Chris Pappas, first congressional district out of the state's largest city, Manchester, Democrat, incumbent member of Congress, joining us. Congressman, thanks for being with us. Good morning, New Hampshire, the pulse of an age. Well, thank you. I want to talk. I saw a news release from your office about you supporting a border security task force. Can you elaborate? I thought this was interesting and timely. Right. Unfortunately, big problem, but politics are always involved. Congressman, recent or yesterday, the New Hampshire Attorney General issued a release urging the U.S. Senate to act on this Lake and Riley bill, which basically would say any illegal migrant who's caught with certain crimes, charged, arrested with certain crimes, would be detained. I think. Did this pass the House? Do you have a feeling on this? Do you think this is a good thing? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Congressman, the president talked about the border bill that stalled in Congress in the State of the Union. You started the interview this morning talking about, I can't exactly remember how you put it, but did you say pragmatic Democrats or a group of Democrats that want to see more action? I'll let you use your own words on the border. Okay. So, right. So I think this border security task force, I think this is what action. But my point is, regardless of what passes or not in terms of the border bill that's stalled, do you have some degree of frustration with the Biden administration up until now for not doing more to secure the border? Because I know a lot of Democrats say that in national polling, then they're frustrated. Mm. Hmm. Right. Yep. A thin majority, I bet. Well, Congressman, please keep us posted on the border security task force efforts. I really would love an update, and I appreciate it. Hey, I want to switch gears quickly before we let you go on veterans. I do want to say, but I had a question on one particular congressional issue. But I think recently, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, it, you received a pretty. I know that awards and plaques may not matter, but I think in the veterans area, it does a pretty good recognition. And I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me, but congrats on that. It's well deserved. You've been a steadfast supporter. But what was that recognition? It was about a week ago. Right, right. That's what I'm. Right. It was the DAV. Yep. Well, on the DAV, so that was it, I'm sorry. But I wanna ask you because Tom Raffio is someone you know of and well, I hope, President and CEO of Northeast Delta Dental's on my show a lot, good friend, good sponsor, but a good friend, he does his weekend show here, and he and I have been talking for years about this glitch that exists in Congress, not necessarily a VA malfunction on oral health care coverage for veterans. If I understand it, the current law is like you have to show you were a POW and which is very difficult and rare and not big numbers for veterans or hurt direct result in the line of service. And a lot of veterans may need surgery years after service, might be 15, 20, 30 years or 10 years, and they can't go back and say this is a result of being on a carrier for 4 years and my the vibrations and whatever. So the point is this glitch it seems like a simple glitch where there seem to you think there's enough money in the VA system to cover oral health care because as people age, some of these procedures, as you know, are not like whitening. No offense to whitening, they could be a surgery. In oral health, you could have an infection, you could have an issue, it could be a surgical, it could be thousands of dollars. So in New Hampshire, with Tom and through our efforts, we've been able to get Dr. Mitch Correa and a group of veteran-owned dentists to kind of do these surgeries for free to the veteran quickly. All they have to do is call Tom and his office number, which is amazing, and then Delta Dental's board has stepped up with an amount each year to sort of augment or supplement the dentists, the veterans. My point is this is working, but it's a private solution. Is this glitch fixable in Congress? Why doesn't it get fixed? Yeah. Well, thanks for all you do in that regard. Thank you, Congressman Chris Pappas, first congressional district on this Thursday morning. We'll get you back again soon. I got to take a quick break. When you come back, we'll tell you about the mission of Troop C in the New Hampshire State Police, brought to you by Auto Fair, and some public safety thoughts ahead of a fun weekend going into seems a little bit funny, not funny, but interesting to have St. Patrick's Day on a Sunday, but that's where it falls. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Just a quick programming note. We have our great friends and partners and sponsors at Goodhue Boat Company and the marinas, and we'll be doing our shows there this summer on Fridays. My marina tour will continue this summer, and across the Great Lakes and marinas of Goodhue. But you can go to their main website. But the Great Northeast Boat Show kicks off tomorrow, and it runs through the weekend. And it's in Bedford, and it's the Great Northeast Boat Show, and it's over at the Sports Complex in Bedford. You can Google all that. But if you go to goodhueboat.com, they have a coupon and you can save some money on admission and then save up to $25,000 on some of the incentives for some of their boats as well as their clubs. So check out the boat show coming up starting tomorrow in Bedford at the Sportplex, March 15th to the 17th. If you're looking for something to do this week and go on by, look for the Goodhue, Goodhue, the boat company. You'll see there, folks. Go to the website today and you can save some money even going to the show. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a few. Good morning, New Hampshire, up into Portland, Maine. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, nationally. It's thousands of you are streaming online right now. Thank you very much. As we get going, J Dog, you look and seem a little bit older after your birthday yesterday, so I hope you had a good one. We're going to switch now to our state police segment each Thursday, brought to you by Auto Fair. Jason LaCroix and the team at Auto Fair supporting public safety, and we have Trooper Joshua Howe. I had some buddies growing up with the last name of Howe, where I grew up north of Boston. And he's from Troop C, and he's checking in on talking a little bit about his background and recruitment thoughts. And I think there's a test coming up in for the state police, but also the effort or the looking at. I talked the other day on firefighters. We had head of the Firefighters Association, Mr. Green, on talking about recruitment for firefighters, these wonderful, important careers to keep us all safe. And I want to bring in Trooper Joshua Howe. Thanks for being with us. Troop C, where, and just tell us where and what the mission is, where that is. Trooper, how many years on, and what drew you, what brought you to it? Awesome. You know what? What a great story, because I talk a lot about that with your colleagues, especially in the recruitment side. And you think of life today and careers and what people go through. And I'm just saying, you may not feel some days at 35 is that young, but let me tell you, it's young. And what I'm saying is, it's a great time to look at a change. You were building homes. It's a great profession, builder, contractor, and yet you made a change. And so I think you're going to see more people like that, maybe in the early 40s, late 30s, do the same thing. So, what do you say to someone like yourself who's kind of thinking about service, trying to help? They kind of like what they do, but there's something missing. Would you recommend someone else to look into this as well? Hmm. I'm not saying everything's perfect. Life isn't, but do you like the job? Do you like the mission each day? What do you like about it, Trooper Howe? Hmm. Now, just before, I had a question just on some car or drive, the car unit team, and I want you to tell us what that is. You mentioned your mission out of Troop C, because of the geography and location, might be a little bit different than, say, a trooper in Troop A in Epping, or B, I think, is in Bedford. So, or the seacoast, busy 95 on the seacoast, 93. So or 101. How does your mission what's different about it in the sense that you cover more smaller towns? Does it run into a different set of challenges versus vehicle stops sometimes because you're dealing with residents or issues? Do you cover a broader territory? Explain the differences. Interesting. Now tell us about the car unit, and we are coming up to I think a lot of times spring, more people out and about, but car safety, and a lot of times people we all get everyone gets driving a little fast, everyone gets a little distracted. Just talk about the car unit and some safety thoughts. Yeah. Right. And I think we're gonna have an early spring, so the bikes will be out soon. All right, thank you very much, Trooper Joshua Howe. Troop C, thanks for sharing some insight on the state police on the recruitment side or career side, profession side. Brought to you by AutoFair. Thank you, sir. All right. Great spokespeople, spokespersons for the state police when I have them on, just very professional. I think that's what you're seeing in law enforcement, firefighters, public safety, Army, Navy, Marine, you name it, Air Force. I don't want to neglect anyone, Coast Guard. Not as many recruits, but the ones they get are excellent, high quality. As he said, you're expected to be a lot of things today, a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, and you're out there by yourself. Think about this. And I know you chose it and you're trained. That's not my point. A lot of responsibility out there, and the more pressure than ever to probably than ever before. So, very important role, and we need to fill these ranks. We need to fill these ranks. As I said yesterday or 2 days ago in some commentary, you have to call 911. You want the best there, and you want someone there. You don't want them to say, "I'm sorry, I'd love to send someone over to you, sir, but right now we don't have anyone to send." So we need to fill these ranks. Hey, J Dog, 1-0 last night. UNH hockey at home. They go on to the quarterfinals facing Maine this weekend over UMass Lowell. One zip. Yeah, it's a good game. Yeah. Go up to Alphon. Go up to Alphon and kick and let's just say beat Maine. There you go. All right. Hey Google. Hey Alexa, play the Pulse Fan. It's J Dog on the boards. Jack Heath on this pretty nice looking Thursday, by the way. Back in a moment. Total eclipse coming up. What is that? April 8th, J Dog? Is that right? Oh, you will? Who do they open against? Oh, Chicago's going to win like 9-1. You're on the road a lot coming up. A social sporting events. You got WrestleMania. What's that? That's in Philadelphia. Is it? So you bought tickets for WrestleMania? You didn't like text John Cena after he was on the Academy Awards because you can't see him, even when he was kind of exposed at the Academy Award. It was pretty funny. I don't think he cares. Well, do you mind asking ballpark for WrestleMania tickets is like a 150, $200? Really? Are you serious? Oh, for 2. It's like $400. It's like well, it's pretty long too, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's a media stuff? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So you got to know him. Yeah, cool. All right. You know who's going, I think, is Michael Graham from New Hampshire Journal. He's going to wrestling. He's a big country music fan and a wrestling fan. I don't know if you knew that. No, he doesn't. He might like wrestling. He said politics today is like WWE. Yeah, you're right. Hey, speaking of politics, thank you, Jada. I want to switch gears just a moment. It was interesting. Chris Pappas live a few moments ago, Democrat first district congressional congressman running again, incumbent. And I will say this. I mean, it's interesting. You have to give credit where it's due, but there's a sign here. There's a sign here that you're not going to hear from the national media. There's a sign here, and there are actually more than one sign. There are several signs. Joe Biden is president of the United States right now, and he is the presumptive Democrat nominee. And he came to New Hampshire Tuesday afternoon. And very few outlets, national, local, I pointed it out the day of. Why did Joe Biden come to New Hampshire, a state that he doesn't really want to come to? He hasn't been here for 2 years and took away our primary, wasn't even on the ballot, and has to come here and say, "Well, thank you for writing me in," which, clever line. He doesn't, care that much. He didn't want New Hampshire. It wasn't representative. I'm not going to care. That state's not important. So why did he come here? Let me ask you a question, just the way I kind of think. And I never wanted to work in one of these jobs behind the scenes on Capitol Hill in the White House on the, sort of the public advising side. But let's read through the tea leaves here. The State of the Union was when? A week ago tonight. 1 week ago, and the national media. This could be the biggest platform and the final State of the Union before the election for Joe Biden, the reelection. This is a big moment in the sun, and he has a State of the Union. And then he goes to Pennsylvania the next day. Now he was a little more lucid and fired up. I think Jeb Bradley, the Republican Senate president on my show on Friday, said a lot of Red Bull served by the White House that afternoon. President goes only to a handful of states after the State of the Union. Think about this. Air Force One. It's kind of a big deal when they move around. Motorcades, big deal. Big deal being a sitting president going to any state. Go to Pennsylvania. That's when the president said, "Oh, send me to Congress. Send me to Congress." Not like get Congress to act on the border bill. But anyway, we'll let that go. Typical Biden gaffe. Pennsylvania and then New Hampshire on Tuesday. Why the heck did Joe Biden come to New Hampshire Tuesday afternoon? Why? If the state doesn't matter and he hasn't been here for 2 years, it's not to mend fences with the Democrat powers to be here for screwing us over in our first in the nation presidential primary. That's not, he doesn't care about that. They wrote him in. He's already the nominee. He doesn't give a you know what about the primary. He doesn't give a you know what about our primary here. So why did he come here? He came here because the Biden White House is worried about him getting reelected. That's why he came here, folks. I don't want to be the one that opens the curtain in the morning and lets the sunshine in for you, but I'll try to do it right now. That's why he came here. He came here because this election's going to be that tight, and they know it. And we're not an electoral flush college state. We only have four because our population is what 1.3 million. And the electoral college elects a president, folks. That's why he came here. It's going to be that tight. Okay, let's move the ball forward a little bit. Where's the Achilles heel? Let me ask you a question. Where's the Achilles heel? I don't mean to go back to like Greek mythology for Biden to get reelected. We already know it's age and stage in life, his age. We already know. I'm talking Democrat voters, folks. By the way, Democrat voters. Where's the Achilles heel? Age. He's too old. And independents. Look at this. Where's he vulnerable? The border. The border. The border. And illegal immigration. He's vulnerable. They know it. They know it. So He's also on his own base. A lot of folks are not happy with the White House and this president for his steadfast support of Israel, which I support, by the way, but a lack of a ceasefire in Gaza. They don't like him for that. They don't really like him that they can't afford to pay their bills the third week of every paycheck month with inflation, and they don't really dig him on the border. The border is vulnerable. And another sign this week, we just had, well, last Thursday, I believe it was Thursday, I had Senator Jeanne Shaheen, leading Democrat in the U.S. Senate, senior member of our federal delegation. When I asked her, is Biden doing enough at the border? Because talking about the preview of the State of the Union, and should the two leading Mexican cartels who control the other side of the border and this deadly poisonous fentanyl flow be declared terrorist organizations? She said, yeah, I think we need to do more. I'm okay with that. Breaking ranks, not too happy or approving. I mean, she didn't say, as Senator Sheen didn't say, well, I think the president's got a handle on those cartels and the fentanyl. I'm doing a great job at the border. She didn't say that. But more telling was Chris Pappas a few moments ago. He's also running this fall. There's no U.S. Senate race here. And he is breaking ranks quietly or subtly with the Biden administration on the border, forming a security task force, asking to do more right now. Democrats are, Biden is failing among even they're not saying the president's got a handle on this. The Biden administration the last 3 years is doing a great job. And everyone sees through this BS, this tacit BS, that the president wants Congress to act and pass the border bill. I'm sorry, Mr. President. People see through it. The national media won't even do a story on what's in the bill. I've told our listeners, you're more informed than 9 out of 10 of the CNN and Fox and all the national media listeners and viewers, because I'm telling you what's in that bill. It's not a good bill. It won't do Zippo. It will do very little to secure the border if you have to wait for 4,500 or 4,800 illegal crossings at any one point in a given day. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine 5,000 people crossing over in New Hampshire today? Are you kidding me? President won't take executive action. He could take executive action. And I offered yesterday, no one's taking me up on this. Heck, I'll draft. I will write. My English teachers in Swampscott High School may be surprised, or even U of M. I actually managed to write a few fictional novels in my life. I'll write a draft for you, the Biden White House, on a couple executive orders that the president could sign tomorrow going into this weekend before St. Patrick's Day to secure the border. I'll write them myself for free. No credit needed. The president doesn't have to get out there on Friday and say, or next Monday, instead of playing politics with the border and blaming Trump, I thought I'd grow up. I mean, heck, I'm 81 years old. I thought I'd grow up and tell you the truth, that I can secure the border as president of the United States. And I'm signing executive orders today that were drafted by Jack up in New Hampshire, host of a morning news talk show. He was nice enough to write these up for us because we're a little busy around here. He wrote up some very good paragraphs that I can sign into executive orders as president of the United States. Calling for an immediate support of more detection equipment at the border to detect fentanyl coming over in vehicles. More Border Patrol, National Guard deployment over the next 60 to 90 days until we augment the need of numbers at the border with Border Patrol hires, which will take 3 months. But we're going to use the National Guard and support Texas and Arizona, especially Texas, with Mexico, like Georgia, like these other states. Like where Jack, who drafted these executive orders for me up in New Hampshire, 85 National Guard troops coming down to support Governor Abbott in Texas at the border. So I'm sending more. I'm sending actually 5,000. We're going to get serious and tighten and secure this border. And I'm going to encourage more. I'm going to write into this executive order like Jack wrote here that we're going to cut down on the number of asylum seekers who can get in here. We're going to deport them right back to Mexico. And we're going to encourage them to stay on that side of the border. In other words, we're going to tell Mexico to also do the same, because we're going to cut down on the numbers of people coming into this country. And we're going to support non-sanctuary city policies in this executive order. So anyone who's here, and I'm sorry if my own base doesn't like the term illegal, undocumented illegal, and they commit a crime, they are detained. If the crime is serious enough, they are deported. There, I wrote it. There, sign it. You don't need Congress, and everyone knows it. Or if they don't, they should. So you're seeing signs that tell me, and should tell all of us, that this election is going to be a doozy, and it might not be as close as people think. I mean the other way. Because I'll tell you where Trump, just in fairness, is vulnerable. I said a while ago, the best assets, the best talents or energy of Donald Trump tend to be his biggest liabilities, typically his personality and sometimes the stuff he'll say. But the point is his policies. So he's vulnerable to all the legal distractions. He's vulnerable for the people that don't like Donald Trump. But where he's not vulnerable is on the border, on the economy, on energy, on pocketbook issues. And I think a lot of people, when they see Vladimir Putin running for reelection again with no opposition, they're either dead or in prison or poisoned, threatening to use nuclear, no ceasefire on the horizon in the Middle East. I think people say, you know what? Independent voters, I think I can vote for Trump. I may not like him, but I can vote for him. So there you go. Buckle up. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of Nation. Coming up, we're going to tell you if you're a tuna boat fisherman, fan, or captain, and you want to support what is Fish with a Mission. We'll tell you all about it coming up. The Navy SEALs Fish with a Mission. We're a sponsor of this event coming up in late July. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a few. Hey, you know what? You gotta like Florida. I just not especially this time of year, but I just was looking at a story that I talked last week about squatters. In my opinion, these morons that just move into a house. They have no right to live, and then they expect, oh, you can't kick me out if you're the owner because I have a right to this house. No, you don't. There's the door. You got about 2 minutes. Some of this stuff. But listen to this. So Florida's actually squatters would get immediately booted after under a bill in Florida. Lawmakers in the state have passed. Thank goodness. Thank you for having some common sense in Florida. And that's one reason why a lot of people are moving there, by the way, in my opinion, is it just makes more sense there. A lot of this, the woke stuff is being taken on a little better. A lot of people didn't like Ron DeSantis because of some of the stuff he took on, but he's been a pretty effective governor. I think he had the biggest reelection margin in the midterms last time around than any other Republican governor in the country. No disrespect to Governor Sununu, and it's pretty interesting. I'll tell you, the squatters would get booted. This is out now. I'm just tell you the bill. Let's just tell you what I'm trying to get a non-video version. Non-video version. So it passed just a few days ago. Florida lawmakers passing this bill, giving property owners positive hope. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why this has taken so long. So lawmakers passed unanimously a bill to combat squatting, and they exposed the loophole in the law that has allowed some of these freeloaders or whatever you want to call them to move into a house. The bill would close that loophole. We'll tell you what the loophole is. I hope other states do it, including this state and Maine. And so property owners, it's been a year since some of these stories, like some people have people move into their home, a second home or a home that they haven't occupied yet. And it takes them almost a year to go through the courts and the civil court to kick the person who had no right to be there in the first place out. You hear these horror stories. It took months for legal owners to evict people that had no right to be in the home. So state lawmakers passed a bill to put a stop to it. The bill allows law enforcement to immediately remove squatters, what a novel concept, who do not have a lease authorized by the property owner. Simple. Property owner, you're the one with the rights. It also has criminal penalties, including designating and intentionally presenting a fraudulent lease. So it's simple. If you don't produce a lease from the owner or a tenant agreement, a rental agreement that is legit, the police go, there's the door. Sorry, you're not going to go up. Hey, you're going to get handcuffed. You're on the sidewalk. Now, I have to tell you, I'll be candid. I don't want to be cavalier when I say this. I don't know how it would go if I went home and someone who had no right living in a property that I owned, a home that I'm paying the bills on, and they just show up and break and enter into my home and then presume that they're not going to leave when I show up. I got news for you. I try and be diplomatic, but my diplomacy skills would be pretty quick. It would be a pretty direct process. And I got to tell you, because I even thought of some ways I won't tell you that I think you could do this without getting into trouble in terms of you being the one charged for excessive force. They'd be out of the house and everything behind them as the door was kicking them on the way out would be out there in the street with them. So I thought through this a little bit. It wouldn't go too well, but we had the case of Scott, was it up in Wolfboro, shared a story of his brother-in-law or someone in Vermont, up in the Northeast Kingdom or somewhere, someone moved in, trashed this relative's house, someone he knew, trashed it. They were using drugs. And when they called the state police, that's a civil matter. No. Police show up, the squatters in the house, squatters go, police go. End of story. So Florida, I hope other states here in New England follow you. Sometimes I wonder if Florida isn't the free state. Live free or die. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa. Play the pulse of an age. Coming up, tell you about Fish with a Mission and a whole lot more. 11 o'clock hour, Joe Matarisi talking some healthcare national news observations on a pretty nice Thursday. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Back in a few.